Please be seated. The court is now back in session, and for this afternoon proceeding, the Chamber would like to inform the parties that for the question-answer session to this civil party, please reduce the pace of your speaking, as we are in shortage of interpreters for this afternoon. So please speak slowly. And the lead co-lawyer for civil parties, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am informed of what the Chamber would like us to do regarding Mr. Chao Ning. I will speak as slowly as possible. There have been 14 intermediate organizations that have been charged to assist victims to become civil parties. One of these associations is the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Human Rights Association. This association has assisted 191 victims to become civil parties throughout the national territory of Cambodia. Mr. Chao Ning has worked for that association, and I will quote his position in English as it was communicated to me during the lunch break.
2008,
He was outreach and complaints person in 2007 and 2008, but we were not able to confirm that with certainty. Up to 2010, he held that position for the province of Takeo, and that is why he assisted the civil parties in applying to become civil parties in that province, and we have 23 civil party applications from Takeo province, which were filed thanks to the assistance of that association, including that of Mr. Chao Ning himself. And Mr. Chao Ning is mentioned in 22 civil party applications from Takeo province, and that is why his name appears systematically in victims' information sheets, and that is because those forms were drafted in such a manner by the victims' support section, which had to make sure that a witness was able to sign the information sheet alongside the victim, him or herself. That is what I have to say regarding Mr. Chao Ning. But we have a series of additional information that you'll find on the case file, and we have all been served with that. Most of these documents were filed in the second part of 2010, and as regards supplementary information of the civil parties being heard today and who are from the Takeo province, it is the unit in this court, of the victims unit in this court, which collated all that information. And I must say that during that period, our section, that is the civil parties section, was not in charge of the collection of such information. This is the update I would like to provide following what I heard during the lunch break. If you need any further information, I am available to provide it. To conclude, I would like to remind the Chamber that it is absolutely fundamental for us that the 8 civil parties be heard between today and tomorrow. We have lost some time in our planning. In addition, Mr. Kantin, another civil party, should be heard today, in order that we should be able to hear 4 civil parties tomorrow. In any case, it is essential for us to make sure that the civil parties who have been in Phnom Penh since the day before yesterday be allowed to speak and to answer the question asked by my learned friend Kope. This is not a normal hearing. It is an exceptional hearing that is aimed at enabling the civil parties to explain or to express themselves on their sufferings, and it is absolutely necessary that these 8 civil parties, in light with the schedule that we presented to the chamber, those 8 civil parties be allowed to speak before this chamber. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, to accommodate your observation request, I think you, the political lawyers for civil parties, has to reduce your time first, namely reduce to 30 minutes, and then accordingly all the parties will reduce their questioning time, if we were to do that. And the floor is once again given to the prosecution, and you may proceed, the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will try to be concise and clear in my questions, and I'll focus on the substance. Before the break, Mr. Civil Party, you said that before you arrived at Angroka, there were about 10 men and 10 women there. In the document we have before us, E3/5035, you made mention of about 100 prisoners, and in the record of an interview you gave to the co-investigating judges, and the reference is E319/12, E319/12.3.8. In answer 77, you said there were 70 prisoners. Can you tell us whether the number of prisoners at Angroka changed with time? Did it increase in the course of time?
Civil Party, regarding the prisoners held at Angroka, prisoners were brought in from time to time, and when the new one brought in, the existing ones, some of them were taken out. They were tied out, and they were tied up and taken out. Usually, they would tie one prisoner at a time and let out in the direction toward the Damrai Romil mountain, although I did not know the exact location where those prisoners were taken to. So over time, the number of prisoners reduced as some of them were taken out.
Vous avez dit tout à l'heure que
you said a while ago that Meng interrogated you at a point in time. Was there a specific location for interrogations outside of the detention center, or the room in which the prisoners were detained?
Meng interrogated me when other prisoners were let out to work in the field, and I was alone. Then they removed the iron rod, then the rings dropped, and then I was unshackled and taken to a building where the guard stayed, and that was the place I was interrogated. I was not interrogated in the detention building, but at a nearby building where the guards stayed.
Merci.
Thank you. Were you able to speak to your co-detainees at the time? Were you able to find out why the other prisoners at Angroka had been arrested and detained?
I only spoke to those fellow prisoners whom I knew. For example, a teacher by the name of Kan and another person, Acha Mak. Acha Mak told me that he was monitored every day, and he was asked what he did in Phnom Penh. And as for the teacher, it was the same thing, and he said that he was a teacher in Phnom Penh. And I did not know what kind of wrongdoings they committed, as I did not ask them about that. And a day or two later, they were taken outside, and I did not know where they were taken to.
Vous avez dit que
You stated that the guards and cadres at Angroka took the prisoners towards the mountain, Angromil mountain, Damre Romil, and you told the co-investigating judges that you thought that they were taken there to be executed. What is the basis for your statement that you thought those people were going to be executed up that mountain?
I peeped through the wooden wall, as there was a gap that I could peep through. And I saw those prisoners being tied, and they were taken out one at a time after each of them was tied up. I did not know where they were taken to, but from my location, I presumed that they were taken to the direction of the Mray Romil mountain, though I did not have any concrete evidence to prove that, as I was being detained in the detention building. I only saw that they were tied up and taken out.
à propos de la personne que vous avez
Regarding the person you've just mentioned, that is teacher Khan, can you tell us whether you knew his name and his age at the time, as well as the name of his wife?
As for teacher Kan, I knew him well, as he used to teach me. And he was around 70 years old, a little bit more than that.
Est-ce que le nom Peo Khan
Does the name Peo Khan ring a bell to you? He was married to a woman called Pen Yem, and he was from some commune, Kirivon district. Does that name ring a bell to you?
No, that name Pokan does not ring a bell to me.
Est-ce que vous avez connu en détention à
While you were detained at Angroka, did you know a person by the name Num, N-U-M? He had come from the district and had gone to live in Trapping Tom North.
The name Non also does not ring a bell to me. I did not know which village that person resided. It could be that person could reside in another village within the same commune.
au dossier figure
On the record, we have document E3/2423. I am unable to show the witness's document. I would like to lay a foundation before I put questions to the witness on this subject, if you would allow me to do so.
Oui.
President Council Coupe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honours. May I make a suggestion and suggest that we stop asking questions on facts to this witness and ask this witness if he would be prepared to come back at one point in time to give proper and full testimony. I believe it's a relevant witness. He gives so far very coherent answers. There are a lot of things I would like to ask him as well. Also considering the remarks of the civil party lawyers and the trial chamber itself, wouldn't it be an idea to just now focus on the civil impact and recall this person as a proper witness?
President, I believe the chamber reminded all the parties clearly that the questions all points towards the suffering and harm of the civil party, except in the case that the harm and suffering are connected to certain facts. And as for the time allocation, we don't have much time left for the additional 6 civil parties that are still remained. And if you keep questioning this civil party on facts, then he should be categorized as a witness and not a civil party who is making a statement of harm and suffering before this chamber.
Peut-être avant que vous réunissiez.
Perhaps before you gather to deliberate, Mr. President, I am basing myself on the suffering he endured at Angroka prison, and on this basis I'm trying to establish the credibility of this witness's testimony. And I am also trying to confront the witness with certain facts and to ask whether he knows certain persons at that prison. So I believe my questions are relevant, Mr. President.
President Council Coupe, if my understanding is correct, you suggest that this civil party shall be summoned again as a witness to provide his testimony, as he seems to know a lot. And the chamber would like to clarify this matter clearly. So please, if you have other reasons to support your submission, and do so now.
I think, Mr. President, there's an exact summary of my request. I think this is indeed a very relevant witness, and he should come back at another time that we have more possibility to question him. So yes, I agree with your summary fully. This is our request.
President, and what about the defense team for Kiev Sampon? Do you wish to make any observation on this matter?
not have any specific application that this witness be brought back. But if the co-prosecutors intend to use him as a factual witness and not only as a person testifying about his suffering, then we should be allowed to examine the witness on the same footing as any other witness who is testifying to facts.
President, thank you. And the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, would you like to make any observation then?
Oui, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, Mr. President. As you, of course, know, this civil party was on the list of the prosecution's witness list since June 2014, and that is why we would like to be able to ask some questions, additional questions, since this person is one of the victims who was at Anroka and who survived and is in a position to testify. Nevertheless, we do not think he should be called back as a witness. We'll complete our examination in 10 minutes or 15 minutes at the very most, and I think it is possible for us to proceed, bearing in mind that what he says has to do with the sufferings that he experienced.
President, and what about the lead co-lawyers for civil parties? Do you wish to make any observation?
We do not support the application by the non-chaired defense requesting that the chamber should recall the civil party to come back and testify to facts, but we will rely on the wisdom of the chamber. All the civil parties who have been proposed to be heard by the chamber at a time we thought was particularly opportune for the civil parties, we've made an effort to adjust our schedule so that the two civil parties were heard yesterday as a matter of priority. Now I understand that both the prosecution and the defense has priorities. So it is up to the chamber to consider the application made by the two parties. But in our opinion, we want this civil party to testify only with regard to the sufferings, as well as the other civil parties to testify to their sufferings.
President, thank you. And as for the Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you stated that you need 10 or 15 minutes more to conclude your question. And if that is the case, and if you think of the time that you and the lead co-lawyer spent this morning, you have to make sure that the defense should have an equal time to be allotted to them. So if that is the case, then it's going to drag on with the remaining civil parties.
I'm trying to be practical here. It won't be possible to hear this civil party to the full extent that might be necessary, safeguarding the rights of everybody to ask questions on one hand, and to hear all the other civil parties that are still here on the other hand until Friday. So we'll have to find a practical arrangement for that. Now, is there any objection against recalling this civil party, which arguably might have valuable factual information at a later stage? Is there an objection? Because then we could go ahead with the others.
Pas d'objection.
No objection. And after discussing the matter with my learned colleague, lawyer of the civil parties, we do not object to recalling this civil party to testify if the chamber deems it so necessary.
President, after having heard the request by the Norwegian defense and the observations from other parties, and after the judges of the bench discussed, the chamber now decides to adjourn the hearing of this civil party in regard to the statement of suffering and harm. And he will be heard again in due course when he will be summoned again as a factual witness. And then he can respond to questions on facts, and he can also express his statement of suffering and harm in his capacity as a civil party. And Mr. Tan Tim, the chamber is grateful of your time, and we will adjourn your statement of suffering and harm now. And the chamber will reschedule an appropriate time so that you will be invited to appear before this court again to provide your knowledge regarding certain facts, and you will be recalled as a civil party, and you may now be excused from the courtroom. And the court officer, please make necessary arrangement with Visu to return Mr. Tan Tim back to his residence or wherever he wishes to go to. And the TPO staff, please remain seated in the courtroom as we will call another civil party, that is through TCCP 881. And court officer, please usher another civil party, that is through TCCP 881, into the courtroom in order to make a statement, the statement of impact and suffering.
Good afternoon, civil party. What is your name, please? So, what is your name, please? I am Beng Buen. Thank you. What is your date of birth? Answer. I was born on 12 December 1944. Well, my real birth date, in fact, is 1939. President, thank you. What is your current address? Civil party. Answer. I live in village of Akat in Kokong province. President, what is your occupation? Civil party. I was a school teacher. Now I am retired. President, what is your father's name and what is your mother's name? Your natural father and your natural mother. Answer. My father was called Driveng and my mother Pa Bun. President, what is your wife's name and how many children do you have? Civil party. My wife calls me Teng Eng. She is deceased. I have 3 children and I married again. And my new wife, with my new wife, we had 2 children. President, thank you very much. As civil party, before the chamber gives you the possibility of making a statement on the harm you suffered, whether this harm be physical or whether this be material as a result of the crimes committed during the democratic Cambodia regime, which led you to join as a civil party. As a civil party, you are entitled to make a statement on the alleged crimes, on the effect of the alleged crimes on you as a victim. You can make a statement about the suffering you endured during the democratic Cambodia period, which led you to join as a civil party in order to seek reparation as a direct consequence of the crimes. Council for the Civil Parties, you have the floor. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors. Good afternoon, Mr. Mingbun. I am Law Chonti. I am a civil party lawyer, and I work for Legal Aid of Cambodia. I would like to put a few questions to you relative to the suffering you endured during the Khmer Rouge regime. To begin with, I would like to know if on 17 April 1975, or rather, where were you on 17 April 1975? Answer. In 1975, I was in Phnom Penh. Thank you. Says the council. Question. On 17 April, when you were at home, Did you see anything special happening in Phnom Penh on that day? Answer. I was at office number 5, that is to say at the military record office, that was an office dedicated to producing military records. And I met Mr. Missy John at the office on 17 April at the military radio station on 17 April. And he asked me questions. He asked me where he could find the keys to enter the radio broadcasting rooms. He said I wasn't working there. He threatened me. He said that he was going to kill me with his pistol. And I was very afraid of the Khmer Rouge soldiers. They held him back so he couldn't shoot at me. And when I looked at a car on the street, I saw a girl. And 2 Khmer Rouge soldiers held Mr. Chichon back. At the Wat Phnom, I heard Meh Sichon say a few words. Words about calling the army stationed in the provinces to lay down their arms and to come up with peace negotiations. And then after that, I heard nothing. And then I heard a voice saying that we came here by force, and we came here with our soldiers, and we came here not to negotiate. Question, thank you. You said that you had not yet left Phnom Penh. So when did you leave Phnom Penh? Answer, I left Phnom Penh on 18 April at 10 o'clock in the morning. And as I left Phnom Penh, I was thinking, I was daydreaming, I was taking time to assess the situation. Question, thank you. And when you arrived at Ston Kompong Tram, did you see anything special happen? Answer, after several days, I arrived at Ston Kompong Tram, and the soldiers asked us to stop there because the bridge had blown up, and they gave us each a can of rice. And once we crossed the river, we cooked our food, and then they forced us to continue traveling in order to meet Angkar. Thank you. And when you were forced to go meet Angkar, did the Khmer Rouge soldiers ask you questions about your personal history? That is to say, who was doing what and who was an officer? Which officers did you know in order to supposedly send them back to assume their respective duties? Answer, I was at the Tulkru Pagoda. I met my uncle. And there, the Khmer Rouge asked us what we did in the past, and they told us they said that we would assume our positions again. My uncle told me to stop talking. I wanted to tell them the truth, of course. So, and then some said, okay, I'm going to go back to Phnom Penh to work, to take on my duties again upon the appeal of Angkar, and others said that with a smile, and then the Khmer Rouge told us to go in a different direction, whereas the others were traveling in another direction. Question. In mid-1976, where did you go? Answer. After that, I went to Svaichal, Kondise district at my uncle's place, where I spent 3 nights and 3 days with my family too. And then my uncle told me to leave his house early in the morning because his brother-in-law was a Khmer Rouge military leader, so he told me to leave, hang, went to a meeting where it was decided to bring my family, to take my family away to be executed. So therefore, I left as he told me to do so. Question. Thank you. Once you arrived at your final destination, what were you assigned to do? Answer. I went to Tmokeo village, Tramkok district, where I met my in-laws who were base people, and they told me to not say anything about my personal history. And then later the village chief came to see us to ask us if we had bracelets or other kinds of jewelry, and I said, no, I have nothing. And then at that moment, we were separated, and we were sent to a village where there were Vietnamese and Chinese people and people from other nationalities. Question. Thank you. And when you went to harvest rice during the dry season, what did you see? Answer. During the dry season rice harvest, I was placed in a mobile unit, and our job was to replant the rice and to activate the water mill. And I met my little brother-in-law, and then I lost him. I missed him very much, and that was really heartbreaking. His disappearance really, really saddened me. And I was saying to myself back then, I will be the next in line to die soon. Question. Thank you. Can you provide details concerning the disappearance of your brother-in-law? Answer. The unit chief had asked questions and had joked with him, and then therefore my brother-in-law said that he knew how to drive a car, how to fly a plane, that he knew how to type, and since he knew how to do everything, apparently a few days later he disappeared forever. That's why, because apparently he knew how to do everything. And later, my neighbors, who liked me very much, told me that anyone who knew how to do anything would not be saved by the Khmer Rouge, and that's why he disappeared. Question. Thank you. After harvesting rice during the dry season, and when you went back to the village, did you see anything special happen? Answer. After the dry season rice harvesting, I was sent to the village where I was assigned to tend the cows, to chop wood, and as I was tending cows, my brother-in-law on my wife's side climbed up a coconut tree, and he saw me, and he threw a coconut to me from the top of the tree, and when he climbed down, he was taken away. And when I arrived at the cooperative, I saw him all tied up in the burning sun. And my son said to me, or my son came back home crying, and then he went to see the wife of Boo, my brother-in-law, and she went to beg the Khmer Rouge to release her husband, and the Khmer Rouge said, "No, don't cry. I am simply arresting the enemy." And therefore, the Khmer Rouge even pushed his wife and his children, and they were taken away, and I don't know where they went. Thank you. What was the reason? Why was he taken away? Was he taken away because he picked a coconut? Answer, yes, yes. As far as I know, that was the reason. The base people were saying back then that everything belonged to everybody, and it is because he threw a coconut to me that he was arrested and taken away. Question. Thank you. And one day you were accused of moral misconduct. Was this accusation grounded? Answer. After replanting the rice, I was sent to the plowing unit, and after plowing, I hitched cows, and then I left the village where my mother told me that I had to go see, or that I should come see her. And then I met my brother, who was looking for vegetables. In fact, it was my sister. And I said, well, we're going to go see Mom at home. And then my unit chief took me into the forest. He was holding his axe, and I begged him for quite a while, and then he accepted to let me go and threatened me that he would kill me if I did that again. And I swore on my mother's head that I would not commit that offense again. And I said that if that happens, then you can take me away where you wish to take me to. And question: at Tomnap Osarai, that's to say the Osarai Dam, your brother-in-law died there. Father-in-law, corrects the interpreter. Did anything happen? Answer: after the plowing, I was assigned to the dam site where I met my brothers-in-law, and after 2 days my brother-in-law received a note indicating that the father-in-law was ill, and therefore he asked leave to go see him, but this request was rejected and he could not leave, and the next day we learned that he died. And therefore my brother-in-law hugged me. We were weeping, both of us, whereas my brother-in-law was a base person. So he wept, he burst into tears. We were there sitting, and people were looking at us, looking at both of us. The two brothers by marriage. Question. Do you wish to say anything with regard to the suffering you endured? As you said earlier on, because of the loss of your two brother-in-laws, and also because of the fact that you did not have a chance to see your father-in-law. What do you feel now in that regard? Answer: I don't understand why my brother-in-law was taken away without being informed of what offense he had committed. And I was not told, well, listen, we're taking away your brother-in-law. And for example, you see, nothing was said when a coconut was stolen. They did not say that this is an offense that should not be committed. But in the case of my brother-in-law, for example, he loved me, so why were we not allowed to go see someone who was ill? Why weren't we allowed to go see someone who was about to die? So this is why I am suffering still a lot. Question. Now, with regard to the theft of the coconut, did the lack of food, or was the lack of food the cause of this theft? What were the food rations like when you were in the mobile unit, for example? Answer. In the mobile unit and elsewhere, there was not enough food. We had to work a lot to harvest all of the land around us. And when we ate, the Khmer Rouge would watch over us, they would circle us, and they would ask us if there was enough to eat or not. And if we said that there was not enough to eat, well, then we were brought away to be executed. Question. What were the working conditions like? Answer. In the morning, when they rang the bell, we had to leave for work, and there was another, they rang the bell again for a lunch break, and in the evening after dinner we had to go harvest bananas or coconuts, and it was only at night that we could sleep, and even as we were sleeping we were watched. My mother-in-law told me to say nothing and to keep quiet at night. Since they watched us on a constant basis, I can say I left my skin where they could watch us, and I would pretend to insult my son.
What did you experience in late 1978? Answer. Throughout the later part of the regime, I was assigned to grow vegetable with the elder people, and then I was asked to attend a meeting at the Jamka Sim. They had a plan for the second meeting, and that we would be in a prosperous environment. Even all the sick people and for those who could not walk were required to attend the meeting, and it was chaired by the district chief. And the district chief said that in a later part of the regime we would live in prosperity. 3 or 4 days after the meeting, the best people prepare noodle for us to eat, as they poisoned the noodle. Question. And what about your children at the time? What were they assigned to do? Answer. One was in a children unit to carry fertilizer for the rice field. And one day he carried it a little bit over the assigned rice field, and the unit chief threatened him that he took it to the enemy. As for me, I was constantly in a mobile unit, depending on whatever they wanted me to work at. Council, thank you. And Mr. Civil Party, if you wish, you can request the President of the Chamber to grant you your request or questions to the accused. And Mr. President, I don't have any further questions for this Civil Party. Civil Party lawyer. Mr. Civil Party, I have just informed you if you have any questions to be put to the accused, you can do it through the chamber president, if you have any. Thank you. Civil Party, I don't have any questions. President, thank you, Mr. Civil Party, and the Chamber would like now to give the floor to the co-prosecutors.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have many questions to ask this civil party, rather a few follow-up questions. On the case file, we have your victim's information form E3/4719. And what I did not hear today is the name of all of the victims in your family. Maybe you can mention their names or say their names, because with translations we hear brother-in-law, whereas it can be sister-in-law. So please, can you clarify all of this a little bit? You spoke, first of all, about a brother-in-law when you were harvesting rice during the dry season, if I understood well. A brother-in-law who had been arrested because they had discovered that he knew how to drive. Could you give us his exact name, please?
In fact, it was my younger brother-in-law by the name of Put.
Est-ce que j'ai bien compris? Voûte, c'est ça?
Did you indeed say Voot, if I understood you correctly?
Yes, the name was Wood.
Et celui qui a été arrêté?
How about the one who was arrested for harvesting coconuts? What was his name?
In fact, the name was Boo, and he was also my younger brother-in-law.
Et j'ai aussi le nom d'une...
And there was a sister-in-law called Ni. Was she also arrested?
It was my other sister-in-law, and her name was not Ni. Her name was Non, my other sister-in-law.
Merci. Tout à l'heure,
Thank you. a while ago. You referred to your living conditions at Ningyan in Ningyan Commune, and in your civil party application form, you wrote that the Khmer Rouge separated people according to their ethnicity. The Chinese live with the Chinese and the Yun live with the Yun. How about you yourself? Did you live with the new people or you lived with the base people?
President Civil Party, please wait, and Councillor Kong Sam On, you have the floor. Kong Sam On. Mr. President, I'd like to provide my observation regarding the summary made by the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor. To my recollection, the Civil Party stated that a mixture of various nationalities were put into a group, including Cham, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And in fact, they were not desegregated into various groups. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, perhaps the Civil Party could enlighten us on the basis of the documents we have, E3/4719, and it's the second page of the French summary, 00898351. There may be an error, but in any case, was indicated that the Khmer Rouge separated people according to their ethnic groups. Is that correct, Mr. Civil Party? Were the people mixed up or they were separated according to their ethnicity?
When I initially arrived, we were mingled together, but later on, we were separated into various ethnic groups. For example, the Chinese ethnicity group and Vietnamese ethnicity group.
merci. En ce qui vous concerne,
Thank you. As far as you're concerned, was the population categorized? That is, was there some kind of separation between the Khmer and, on the one hand, the base people and the new people on the other?
Yes, the categorization actually happened as my parents-in-law were the base people, so they were put separately from where I was. I was put in a Rumpea village, which I live near the Chinese and Vietnamese ethnicity groups.
et pouvez-vous nous dire qui dirige
And can you tell us who led all those groups? The new people, the Chinese ethnic group, and the Vietnamese ethnic group. Were those people led by members of their respective groups, or it was the new people who led them? Beg your pardon, I referred to the base people. Were they the Chinese ethnic group people, or the base people, or the Vietnamese ethnic group? Were the leaders from these respective groups?
They divided us into various groups, and as for the leaders, they were all base people, although I did not know them all.
durant votre
During your stay at Tramkat district, in Ningyan commune, and in the mobile unit, would you say that the living and working conditions progressively improved or deteriorated as time went on?
As to the nature of the work in the mobile unit, of course, it did not improve, as it was extremely intensive work. And our mobile unit engaged in rice farming and in building a dam, which was 6 meters tall, So all kinds of the works that we were engaged in were of an extensive hard work.
Dernière question, Monsieur la partie civile.
Thank you, civil party. It is stated in your civil party application form that in Ningyan, the Khmer Rouge had told you that they were going to send the Vietnamese to the Yon territory in exchange for native Khmers. What do you know about such an exchange? Did it take place?
I cannot recall the year, but I lived near a Vietnamese family, and I was told that Angka would send the Vietnamese back to their country, although I did not know about the exchange program. And before that family left, and they spoke with accent, they told me that they were allowed to return back to their country. And then we separated from one another, and then their husband and wife left. And then another family came to claim that house.
D'accord. Est-ce que vous savez
Do you know whether they arrived their destination? Did they return to Vietnam, or you are not aware of that?
They were sent, but we would not know, and we could not know whether they were actually sent back to Vietnam. Even the best people there did not know that whether they were sent back to Vietnam or not.
Merci, Monsieur la partie civile. Je n'ai plus d'autres questions.
Mr. Civil Party, I have no further questions for you. Mr. President, I am done.
President, thank you. The time is convenient for a short break. We'll take a break now and return at 5 to 3 to resume our proceedings. And the court officer, please assist the civil party during this short break, and invite him as well as the TPO staff back into the courtroom. At 5 to 3, the court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ